this city was never supposed to fall. In our world, Constantinople fell on a Tuesday in 1453, sacked by Ottoman cannon fire after 1,000 years of Roman civilization. It was the single most consequential city in human history, and we lost it. But what if one emperor, on one September afternoon in the mountains of central Anatolia, made a different call? Let's open the vault. The year is 1176. The Byzantine Empire is at the peak of its Komnenian revival. For 60 years, a dynasty of warrior emperors has clawed back territory, rebuilt the army, and turned Constantinople once again into the richest city on earth. Emperor Manuel I is the last great inheritor of that project. He is brilliant, audacious, and perhaps too bold for his own good. His plan is simple in theory and almost suicidal in practice. He will march an army of 35,000 deep into Seljuk-controlled Anatolia, capture the fortress city of Konya, and restore Roman rule over the heartland of Asia Minor in a single campaign. Win this, and the empire is secure for generations. Lose it, and there may be no recovery. The Seljuk Sultan Kilij Arslan II is not impressed by the boldness. He is patient. He knows the terrain. He lets Manuel come. On September 17, 1176, Manuel's army enters the pass at Myriokephalon. The Seljuks are waiting on the heights. Arrows pour down. The vanguard, commanded by a general named Andronikos Vartatsis, charges forward into the ambush rather than holding the column's integrity. He is killed almost immediately. The army fragments. The siege equipment is destroyed. Manuel, in our timeline, barely escapes with his life and negotiates a humiliating withdrawal. In a letter home afterward, he compares his defeat to the catastrophe of Manzikert, the 1071 battle that first broke Byzantine power in Anatolia. He is right. Myriokephalon marks the moment the Komnenian project quietly begins to die. But what if Manuel's aide-de-camp reaches Vartatsis in time? What if the vanguard holds instead of charging? What if, for the first time, Byzantine military discipline wins the day? In this timeline, Manuel does not follow the vanguard into the trap. He orders the columns sealed. He lets the Seljuks commit to their ambush, and then he answers it with his heavy cavalry on the western slope, catching the flanking force mid-descent. The Battle of Myriokephalon becomes a Byzantine victory. Not total, not easy, but decisive enough. A win at Myriokephalon doesn't hand Manuel all of Anatolia overnight. Kilij Arslan retreats, regroups, and negotiates. But the psychological calculus of the whole region shifts immediately. The Seljuk Sultanate had been counting on Myriokephalon to finally exhaust Byzantine ambition. When that ambush fails and the Sultan's finest cavalry are cut down in the very pass they had prepared, the aura of inevitability around Seljuk dominance cracks. Over the next decade, Manuel's successors, energized by the victory and the precedent it sets, push the frontier methodically east. Not one dramatic campaign, but a grinding, systematic reconquest. Fortresses first. Then towns. Then farmland. Settlers follow the legions. By 1210, the Byzantine frontier has stabilized along the Halys River, deep in central Anatolia, territory the empire had not controlled since the Macedonian dynasty 2 centuries earlier. Here is the strategic consequence that matters most: this Anatolia is a tax base and a recruiting pool. Hundreds of thousands of Greek, Armenian, and Turkic farmers paying taxes into Constantinople's treasury. Tens of thousands of young men available for military service every generation. The Byzantine army in 1200, in this timeline, is not the skeletal force scrambling for mercenaries that we know. It is the largest professional military west of China. Money changes everything. In our timeline, the Byzantine Empire's financial position after Myriokephalon was chronic slow-motion collapse. Tax revenue shrank as Anatolia was lost. Military costs stayed high. The concessions extorted by Venice, starting with massive trading privileges granted in 1082, bled the treasury white. In this timeline, a secure Anatolia reverses all of that arithmetic. The trading privileges Venice extorted in exchange for naval help during the desperate years are renegotiated. A financially confident Constantinople simply says, match the terms we offer Genoa, or trade elsewhere. Venice, which needs the Bosphorus more than the Bosphorus needs Venice, quietly accepts. This is not a small thing. In our timeline, the poisonous Byzantine-Venetian relationship culminated in the Fourth Crusade of 1204, when Venice redirected a crusading army to sack Constantinople, the most consequential act of Christian-on-Christian violence in medieval history. That sacking shattered the Byzantine state beyond full recovery. None of that happens here. Constantinople is not sacked. The libraries remain intact. The civil service remains intact. The military tradition remains unbroken. And the money keeps flowing through a city that sits at the intersection of every major trade route between Europe, Asia, and Africa, now defended and administered by an empire that has stopped bleeding. Here is the part of the story that most alternate history gets wrong about Byzantium. The Eastern Roman Empire was not just a military power or a trade hub. It was the custodian of classical learning. While Western Europe descended into the limited literacy of feudalism, Constantinople kept Greek philosophy, Roman engineering, and ancient mathematics alive in university lecture halls and imperial libraries. In our timeline, the sack of 1204 and the subsequent Latin occupation scattered those scholars. Many fled west, and that westward migration of Byzantine intellectuals directly sparked the Italian Renaissance. The collapse of Byzantium ironically accelerated Europe's rebirth. But a Byzantium that never collapses doesn't scatter its scholars. It keeps them. And they keep building on each other's work, generation after generation, without the interruption of conquest and dispossession. By 1300 in this timeline, Byzantine natural philosophers, working in a continuous tradition from the ancient Greeks through 9 unbroken centuries of commentary and experiment, are doing things that in our world wouldn't happen until the 1600s. They have not yet industrialized. But they have the mathematical foundations that make industrialization possible, and they have institutional support for pursuing it. The Navy benefits first. Byzantine engineers, working on problems of propulsion and navigation without interruption, develop improved rigging designs and magnetic compass navigation a century before Europe independently discovers them. Byzantine ships in 1350 can sail in weather and conditions that would strand a contemporary European vessel. This matters enormously for what comes next. In our timeline, the Mongols destroyed everything in their path. They obliterated the Abbasid Caliphate in 1258. They killed 3/4 of the population of Persia. They reached Poland and Hungary before stalling, not because anyone stopped them, but because the Great Khan died and the commanders turned back to settle a succession dispute. Western Europe survived by luck. In this timeline, the Mongols still come. Nothing about a Byzantine victory at Myriokephalon stops the rise of Genghis Khan 60 years later. What changes is what they run into when they push west. A Byzantine Empire with a fully reconquered Anatolia means the Mongols face prepared defenses, deep fortifications, and Greek fire, the medieval world's most feared incendiary weapon, before they reach the Bosphorus. More importantly, Byzantine intelligence services, the empire's celebrated diplomatic network, have been watching the Mongols for 2 decades before the invasion and have built alliances with the Georgian and Armenian kingdoms to create a genuine defensive coalition. The Mongols are not defeated. They are stalled. They take enormous Byzantine border territory in Anatolia and extract tribute. But they do not sack Constantinople. They do not destroy the libraries. They do not kill the scholars and the engineers. And when the Mongol Empire fragments, as it always does, the Byzantines are still there. Battered, but intact. The Silk Road's reopening after Mongol consolidation becomes a Byzantine opportunity rather than a tragedy. Constantinople sits at the western terminus of the most profitable trade network in human history. In our timeline, a weakened Byzantium couldn't capitalize on this. In this timeline, they already control it. So what does 2026 look like? Constantinople is still the most important city on Earth, population 18 million, capital of a constitutional Byzantine Commonwealth that spans from the Adriatic to the Caucasus. The empire long ago evolved from autocracy to a parliamentary system, not through revolution, but through the gradual formalization of the Senate's power over 8 centuries of stable institutional development. Greek is the language of science and diplomacy across Eurasia, as Latin is the language of law. The Hagia Sophia is still a church, the seat of the ecumenical patriarch of a Christianity that never divided into Catholic and Protestant branches, because there was no dark century of Latin occupation to shatter the church's unity. The Ottoman Empire never formed. The Seljuks were absorbed into the Byzantine state over 3 centuries, their Turkish-speaking population integrated as citizens the way Rome always integrated conquered peoples, through law, not extermination. The population of Anatolia in 2026 is Greek-speaking in cities, Turkish-speaking in many rural areas, and multilingual at the borders. It is, by the standards of our timeline, remarkably peaceful. There was no fall of Constantinople, which means there was no mass westward migration of Byzantine scholars. Which means the Italian Renaissance happened differently, not as a sudden flowering from imported Greek manuscripts, but as a gradual exchange between 2 equally sophisticated intellectual traditions. The result is that the European Enlightenment came earlier but moved more slowly, less explosive revolution, more accumulated refinement. Technology in 2026 is roughly 80 years ahead of our own in energy and materials science, but behind in computing. Byzantine mathematical tradition favored geometry over algebra, and the digital computer, which requires algebraic logic, was invented later here than in our world, using a different mathematical foundation. Their computers work differently from ours, and their internet is older but structured around different protocols. One cost must be acknowledged. The diversity that grew from Western Europe's independence never fully developed here. There is no English literature. No French philosophy distinct from Greek thought. No German music tradition separate from the Byzantine sacred music that dominated European composition. The culture of this world is extraordinarily deep and extraordinarily unified, and some of the wild variety that makes our world astonishing simply does not exist. Whether that trade-off is worth it is a question this world has been debating for 5 centuries. They have not reached consensus. In our timeline, the fall of Byzantium gave us the Renaissance. A civilization had to shatter before its knowledge could scatter westward and spark a new flowering. It is one of history's cruelest ironies that the death of the Roman East may have been the price of the modern West. Manuel I went into that past carrying an empire on his back. In our world, he lost it in an afternoon. In another world, built from the same people and the same land, he didn't. History doesn't ask whether you deserve a second chance. It just asks whether you're standing in the right place when the moment comes. Was his empire worth saving? Or did its survival cost us something we cannot fully see? Tell me what you think in the comments. Until the vault opens again, subscribe to the Alternate Archive.